Hey guys, Local AA here, and I almost kind of forgot about making this video about this topic. But here it is. So, as you can tell, the title and the thumbnail, we're going to talk about Smackdown, and Smackdown now moving back to 2 hours. By the time you watch this video started, literally July the 4th. So yeah, this is kind of a follow up to my video I did many months ago, where I did my thoughts on SmackDown potentially going 3 hours. I made that video in October-ish, I think. I made it, and yeah, this is, you can say, the sequel to it. Sorry about the background noise, just literally the dog barking behind my living room, literally. So, yeah. So, enough about that. So, yeah. So, SmackDown will now start back at 2 hours, start July the 4th. And if you watch my video where I made many months ago about SmackDown moving to 3 hours, back in October, I made that video. Hell, I might even put a link to it. What the hell? When I made that, I said the biggest issue with SmackDown moving to 3 hours is that there was barely a depth to the roster. Or almost basically no depth in that roster of SmackDown. I said that if they didn't make any changes to it, to that roster, then this was not going to work as a 3 hour show. And they added some names like Malachi Black, Ray Phoenix, Frasium recently, excuse me, Alistair Black. We can now call him that. So, him, Ray Phoenix, Frasium, I think the trade. What was it called? Was it a trade window they did like early this year when they moved a couple of Raw talents to SmackDown, like Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, at the time Braun Strowman. Yeah, while they did add in some stuff, yeah, like the, it really showed there was barely a depth to that SmackDown roster, and yeah, and I say it won't work, and I can safely say that this experiment of SmackDown moving to 3 hours was pretty much kind of a failure, and you can feel that what they did was extending even more time to that SmackDown quality of that show. Like, instead of here's the biggest issue with SmackDown in this 3 hour experiment that they did. Instead of adding more talent, getting more opportunity, getting more feature focus on the talent, it's almost as if they didn't do any of that, and like just extended the time of the segments and the matches, and I felt in the matches on the some of these Smackdowns on these 3 hour shows that I watched in these past few months, and I could just feel that they were just keep adding the stress and killing time in matches and promo segments. Like I remember the first match that they 3 hour show they did. I think it was Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre had a little segment ish. And I can just feel they were stressing the time where they were extending the entrances time of the wrestlers and stuff. When you see they were extending entrances of the wrestlers and stuff, that's because they were trying to kill as much time as possible. So yeah, and I feel another thing with the SmackDown being 3 hour, with a SmackDown 3 hour show is like they kind of fall to the same problem that Raw had when it was like 3 hours for a decade, and like they almost overexposed all their talent, like they kind of over feature the talent too much. Like I remember, like you will see the same people in two segments. Like John Cena recently had two fucking segments on a SmackDown when they could have just added one. When he could have been just one segment and be a fit, but like I get he's their world champion, but like I feel when they do that, it's again killing and stretching time because they don't have a lot of stuff on that SmackDown brand, that SmackDown roster, and and it's almost as if talents will be missing at all times. Like some of the women will not, like Alexa Bliss, like she was she came back to a huge fanfare at the Royal Rumble, and then she did a spot at the Elimination Chamber, and then she was almost non-existent for like 2 months, and and not and I don't think the right talent got really showcased the proper way. Like it's almost as if they kind of pushed aside some of the talent that before SmackDown going 3 hours made the show worth watch, like Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, who else? Like LA Knight, like at least like Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, like those were the two key people that really made like that SmackDown, that they really made their SmackDown into their show. Like I said, they were the MVPs on this show, and I feel like when they moved when they were 3 hours, they were kind of tossed aside. Even though Carmelo Hayes won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, he's barely on the show as it is. Still, like it's almost as if they were getting and tossed aside, like for like more bloodline melodrama, which isn't as interesting as it used to be. And I like Jacob Fatu and stuff, but then you see Solo Sokola, JC Mateo, which really hasn't been working to what they thought it would be. And now you may see Hikuleo and stuff like that. It's just, gosh. I really feel like the only highlight of SmackDown in this whole 3 hour stick are the tactics. Like, they have been kind of the lifeblood of this show, to be honest. Like the TLC match on that SmackDown they had after WrestleMania. That was one of the best matches in that show's history. Like, all those, all the teams, all that things like DIY, Moonsie Machine Guns, Street Profits. They tore that house down that night. It was incredible. And then you had the YS6 coming in, and it's really heating up those last few weeks. So I will give them credit to that. So yeah, and some of the women's side, not too much, except the Charlotte Alessa story has been. While I don't know what is the purpose of it, I do think it's kind of interesting. That I will say, because it's kind of different position for both of these ladies. So yeah. So while there have been some highlights in SmackDown, these 3 hour shows, this 3 hour era, but overall, like, it has been a fucking short to sit through those fucking 3 hour shows of SmackDown. And like, I felt like the reason I said this experiment, that 3 hour experiment of SmackDown has kind of been a failure, because it didn't really feel like it made a difference in ratings. In fact, the ratings have been kind of went down ever since the 3 hours move, and I really feel like they didn't make most use of that talent, of that roster. If anything, more talents were kind of seen off of television. Like, they didn't make their best use of their roster, and they were. You can just see in those shows, those 3 hour shows, that they were stretching and killing a bunch of time in segments and even matches that you see when it's not so good, that they were adding stretching time because they didn't have a whole lot for these shows. So yeah, 3 hours SmackDown, not good, not good. Mostly a short to like sit through. It was a bore. So yeah, thank God that SmackDown is moving back to 2 hours. And I hope with the move to 2 hours to SmackDown is they make the best use of their talent. And like, I did see one people's concern about talent getting less extra time. But I think Solo Monster in his podcast said they they have to do a better job of like re rotate the roster, like, and feature of talent on one week and then feature another extra the other week. Like, they have to do a better job of rotate what's the word? Like, rotate the roster a bit more each week. Like, they have to do a better job of featuring and rotate that talent that they have. And yeah, like, it and like they just have to do a better job, like making people care about Smackdown. So yeah, and I hope they don't just like get less time with the Tati division, the women's division, like Son Make or like just keep making use of that the division, especially the Taz, the women's and the Makeup division. So yeah, they just have to continue on that path and make some shit. And I think they make, and then I think they got to have a stronger main event scene because the world champion is showing where the showing up wherever the fuck he wants to, seems like. And I said in my previous video they needed some credible legit heels. So like people like Cody or Randy, if he stays face, can work with, because again there's not a lot of main event heels on SmackDown. It's basically just Drew McIntyre and kinda John Cena, even though he's not around every fucking week. So yeah, they just have to make up. They just have to find so credible heels on that SmackDown roster. So yeah, so rotate that's the rotate the rosters on that SmackDown each week with the 2 hours they're now gonna have, and you may see some stronger results. So who knows, but yeah, definitely glad that SmackDown's moving back to 2 hours, and not gonna miss SmackDown 3 hours. Not even going to be a memory that I'm going to want to wish when it even comes, if it ever comes. So yeah. So rest in peace, 3 hour SmackDowns. So there is that. Like this video if you haven't. Subscribe over there. Tell me what you thought about SmackDown being a 3 hour show, and thought about moving back to 2 hours in the comment section below. And as always, I'm Jason Maenius, and I approve this message.